I'm Sarah, and this is how cutting was a destructive tendency in my life. In 8th grade, I was bullied to the point where I didn't even want to get out of bed. They would call me awful names, and they would call me fat and stuff, and they would throw food at me while I was in the cafeteria, and no one did anything. No one stood up for me, and I didn't know how to deal with it, so I started cutting to handle it. When I went into high school, I thought that I was going to be able to stop and start over and start fresh. And right when I was starting to get my footing, I started dating this guy who I thought was super awesome because he was a football player and he was really smart and he was supposedly a pretty good Christian, but he was also extremely abusive. He was physically and mentally and emotionally abusive, and it just broke me down even more to the point where cutting seemed the only way to cope with it. I would go from extreme opposites, from never looking at myself in the mirror to staring at myself for 3 hours and picking myself apart because that's all I knew, is that I was worthless. I started contemplating suicide. I started thinking about running away and starting over, and nobody cared. It seemed that nobody noticed what I was going through. When I was a sophomore in high school, my mom got cancer and my best friend died in a car accident, and I think that's what finally just made me break down, and that's when I started to drink and smoke. I mean, I still went to camp and youth group and church, and I loved going, but I didn't believe any of it. If I drank, then I would have to cut because I was not supposed to be doing that. If I smoked, I'd have to cut, and it was just this vicious cycle of punishment on myself. The summer before my senior year of high school, I was still struggling with cutting and drinking, and there was just a point when it kind of clicked in my head where I did not want to feel like this anymore. I think I was in the car on the way to a party, and I just was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to feel like this anymore. That's the moment that I knew that I was done living like this. The summer before my senior year of high school, I decided to go to camp for the whole summer so that I could heal from all the stuff I'd been through. While we were worshiping, I just got this overwhelming feeling. We would just start singing without music or anything. It was just all our voices, and I could just feel God around me and in me, and it was one of those moments where I was like, this is not gonna happen anymore. I'm not going to do this destructive thing anymore. I'm not going to harm my body like this anymore, and I'm going to let Christ move in me and heal me from the inside out. And at the end of the summer, I was rebaptized and recommitted my life to Christ. And I can happily say that I haven't cut since then, and it's been about 3 years. And that is just by the grace of God that I am able to do that. Even though cutting was a destructive tendency in my past, God has completely transformed me and made me a new creation, and now I'm able to serve Him fully and live my life fully and not be controlled by the world, and I'm not dictated by what the world thinks of me, and I'm able to see myself as how God created me.